Emotions. A universal experience that we all share. When we watch our favourite anime, we often feel a rush of emotions. Anger, excitement, love, and more. Today on ViniiTube, we're excited to present the most emotionally impactful fights in anime. Let's see if this list has got the power to get you truly riled up. Let's get started. We begin with one of the saddest fights in anime history. The fight between Luffy and Usopp. Everything was going okay until our crew had to abandon Going Merry. But since Going Merry was given to them by Kaya, Usopp wasn't ready to give it up. What many people don't get is that Usopp isn't a coward. He's a survivalist. He usually avoids fights because that's the most likely way for him to survive. But put him in a situation where he has to fight and he'll give his everything to come out on top. One interesting detail about this fight was that our boy Luffy thought Usopp wasn't being serious and just playing around. But you know what? Usopp was very serious, and Luffy only realized it when he started using his tools and all to fight back. We move on to an intense and emotionally charged battle between a father and son duo, Dai and Baran. To give you a little bit of insight into their relationship, Dai and Baran had different ideals. Dai's a cheerful and good-natured boy who dreams of becoming a hero and saving the world from the Dark King, Vern. He's got that infectious optimism that makes you believe that anything is possible. On the other hand, his father is a Dragon Knight and one of the commanders of the Dark King, Vern. You see, this fight between the father and the son is one of the most standout moments in the entire anime. It just tugs at the heartstrings of the viewers and keeps them glued to the screen. The emotional core of this fight lies in the fact that the two aren't only just opponents, they share a blood relationship. Naturally, this fight is a test of their bands and the emotional stakes are through the roof as they fight. Other than that, this fight is a movie quality one, and the fans of the original anime series waited 30 years for this scene. Akame and Kurome from Akame ga Kill share a very tragic relationship. Sold off like discount merchandise, these girls were molded into lethal assassins, each finding their niche in different killer groups. As assassins of two different groups, the sisters found themselves on the opposite side of the battlefield. There was this inevitable conflict that was forced upon them, and that's what makes their fight emotionally impactful. Akame, the stoic badass, breaks away from the Empire to join the Revolutionary Army to fight for justice. Meanwhile, Kurome stays loyal to the Empire, wielding her creepy ability to control corpses. The two face off in an epic battle where, despite their deadly game of assassin tag, Akame and Kurome can't escape their sisterly ties. It's heartbreaking to see the two going against each other, not being able to experience that beautiful sisterly bond, but it all comes with the path they've chosen. And let's not forget the cherry on top. While they're going at it, a dangerous beast decides to crash the party. But do our sisters let that stop their epic showdown? Nope. They treat the beast like it's a minor inconvenience, a fly buzzing around their intense sibling rivalry. Many fights in Mob Psycho 100 are emotionally impactful, but the one that stands out as an absolute favourite is a battle between Mob and Ritsu. Mob Psycho 100 fans are head over heels for the brotherly bond between Mob and Ritsu. So when these two siblings squared off, it was a tear-jerking roller coaster of emotions. But why did they have to go against each other? Well, Ritsu was trying to understand Mob's question mode. You see, Ritsu was traumatized by this form of Mob, but when Ritsu finally awakened his 100% psychic power, he decided it was time to confront his fears head on. This short-lived fight between the two brothers is quite emotional as it gives us an insight into their wholesome relationship. On top of that, we get to see their raw emotions. Not to mention how the heartfelt dialogue adds more emotions to the scene, making it one of the best anime fights that's also highly emotional. This is also such an emotional moment for Ritsu fans because he finally gets his psychic powers to work. The next fight will make you feel a surge of testosterone because, oh my god, it's just that good. Joe and Yuri start off as fierce rivals but start developing respect for each other as the series progresses. Yuri is the golden boy of boxing, polished to perfection and the champion megalo boxer with cybernetic enhancements. Joe, on the other hand, is the scrappy underdog from the wrong side of the tracks. He fights without enhancements, relying on raw talent and grit. As the series progresses, these two keep clashing and, surprise surprise, they start to respect each other. Yuri begins to see Joe not as some scrappy nobody, but as a genuine warrior. Joe, on the other hand, starts to see Yuri not just as a cocky guy, but as a fellow fighter with a heart beneath all of that tech. Their final battle against each other is nothing short of spectacular, as it shows us how far they've come as fighters. Yuri, inspired by Joe, even ditches his cybernetic enhancements to fight on equal ground. It's the kind of fight where you're rooting for both of them because you know how hard they've worked and how much they've grown. Afro and Jino started off as childhood friends, but ended up going their separate ways after a tragic incident. Their fight was a highly emotional one, and the more you watch it, the more it makes you want to cry. Every time you try to put yourself in Jino's shoes, you just sink deeper into his trauma. It's possible he had no real plan going into the fight, nor any plans for what came after. I think he was just consumed by rage, nothing else. Maybe he even secretly wanted Afro to kill him because he probably didn't have anything else on his mind. On the other hand, we see how much Afro truly cared about Jino because this was one of the rare times he hesitated to kill. This is evident in the end when Afro finally steels himself to take Jino's life and does it so effortlessly, showing he could have ended the fight whenever he wanted, but couldn't bring himself to kill someone he considered a brother. Adding to this, Jino constantly brings up and blames Afro for the death of everyone he cared about. Afro knew all of this, but never dwelled on it because it would have hindered his path of revenge. Nothing is more emotional than two brothers fighting against each other due to tragic misunderstandings.
I say, 俺の最後の
That's exactly what happened between Hyakimaru and Tahomaru, who had an extremely tragic childhood. The two brothers started their lives unaware of each other. Hyakimaru, the warrior on a mission to reclaim his body parts from demons, was abandoned by his father Daigo, who made a demonic deal for power. Meanwhile, Tahomaru, the golden boy living it up in royal splendor, had no clue his charmed life came at the cost of his brother's limbs. That is, until the family reunion from hell. Their clashes are brutal and emotional, with both brothers pushing each other to their limits. Their final showdown is deeply emotional, with both brothers fighting each other while battling with their own inner conflicts. This fight ended up on a very bitter note, with the privileged brother dealing with the consequences of his father's actions.
貴様の全てをこの国に
Next up, we have a father-son bonding moment between Boji and King Boss. Imagine crippling your own unborn child to get stronger. Pretty shitty move, isn't it? Well, King Boss went ahead and did just that to poor Boji, leaving him physically weak. The poor guy couldn't even inherit his folks' genes properly and ended up being a shorty. On the other hand, Boji greatly admired his father until the day he found out about the fact that he had stolen Daida. That's when Boji wanted to square off with his father. This fight between father and son is emotional on all levels. King Boss, who'd been feeling guilty about his misdeeds, had to fight his precious son with whom he wanted to protect at all costs. The way Boji fought against his father, who was in Daida's body but was animated as if Boji was battling Boss in his full giant form, was truly unique and special. Boji may have been born physically weak, but his true power lies in his indomitable will. Born of giants, his strength comes from the giant's will within his soul, empowering him to fight against all odds. How about you just take a second to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying it so far. Moving on, we have a concluding fight between Revi and Ginji from Black Lagoon. Revi's not your ordinary mercenary. She's a badass gunslinger you really don't want to mess with. She didn't earn the title Two Hands for no reason. She's double trouble. On the other hand, we have Ginji, the slick strategist you want on your side when the bullets start flying. Known for his sharp intellect, Ginji has a knack for reading situations. The battle between Revi and Ginji is one of the best fights in Black Lagoon. I've always found it fascinating that despite their limited verbal communication, Ginji and Revi had no trouble understanding each other on a deeper emotional level. Ultimately, Ultimately, true strength isn't just about raw power or being the superior warrior. It's about maintaining unwavering focus and not losing concentration until victory is secured. In the end, it's not just about who hits harder or shoots faster. True strength shines through in Revi's laser focus and lightning reflexes. She saw a split-second opening and bam! Game over for Ginji. That's how you turn strategy into victory. The battle between Sayaka and Elsa Maria is the one where you're gonna feel really bad about Sayaka. This fight shows Sayaka's despair and how she doesn't care about herself anymore. Sayaka was stabbing the witch so hard that she broke her hand in the process and continued stabbing nevertheless. The way Sayaka cuts off Elsa Maria's head and then laughs like crazy, saying she doesn't feel pain while hitting the witch with her sword, kinda gave me the creeps. I mean, who knew magical girl battles could give you the creeps and make you want to cry at the same time? This fight scene is just so emotionally touching that I end up breaking my heart every time I watch it. The music, the dialogue, and the aesthetic are purely black and white. Like Sayaka's view of the world, you're either with her or against her. It's amazing. It's always stuck with me just how gorgeously it was drawn and animated, yet how brutal the attack is and how agonizing Sayaka's voice and words are. Next up, we have a brutal and intense fight between Gintoki and Takasugi from Gintama. Now, these two started off as comrades in arms, fighting side by side against the oppressive forces. They shared dreams, battles, and an unbreakable bond forged in the heat of war. However, things took a dark turn after the war. Takasugi, driven by rage and a desire for revenge, went down a path of destruction. He became a notorious terrorist, hell-bent on bringing down the government and anyone who stood in his way. On the other hand, Gintoki chose a different path, becoming a laid-back, silver-haired, odd-job man with a heart of gold, but still retaining the strength and skill of a true samurai. The whole fight was just so epic and emotionally impactful that it totally deserved its spot on the list. No grand good versus evil or world-saving themes here, just two shattered souls with everything to lose, unleashing their rage and despair on each other. Deku and Todoroki, the two heroes that share a complex and evolving relationship throughout the series. Their relationship begins to develop significantly in the UA Sports Festival arc when the two face off in a memorable battle. I love how this fight gets all psychological. Todoroki initially refuses to use his fire quirk due to his complicated feelings towards his father, but Deku wants Todoroki to use both his fire and ice powers, not only to push each other's limits, but also to help him confront his trauma and pain. It's about Todoroki realizing he can define his own path and identity. You see, Deku wasn't aiming to win in the first place, he just wanted to take Todoroki out of that dark place, and that's what makes this fight really emotionally impactful. We get to see a glorious display of power by both the heroes during this fight, and I gotta say, everyone in the stands probably got a free facelift from the wind alone. Moving on to one of the most important fights in Jujutsu Kaisen. Yes, I'm talking about an all-out brawl between Itadori and Mahito, the kind of villain we wanted to be brutally killed a long time ago. This time, Mahito crossed the line by taking out Nanami and Nobara, two of Itadori's nearest and dearest. Blinded by anger and resentment, Itadori grew the balls to face someone as dangerous as Mahito. At this point, we knew Itadori is done with Mahito's shit. Dude has traumatized and disrespected Itadori more than twice now. Throughout the fight, we see Itadori dealing with strong emotions like anger, grief, and a burning desire for justice. The ending scene of this fight is so satisfying. Just seeing Mahito scream in fear and looking at Yuji so pathetically always makes my day. That's what he gets for messing with Yuji. I gotta say, Mahito turned a cinnamon roll into a ruthless and revenge-driven fighter. That's on the dead homies, guys. Junpei, Nobara, and Nanami. Kurisaki. Arigato. This list possibly can't be complete without the emotionally intense and legendary fight scenes from Hunter x Hunter. The fight I'm talking about is between Gon and Neferpitou, which started after Pitou brutally murdered Gon's dear friend Kite. His loss deeply affected Gon, pushing him to his limits and fueling his determination to seek revenge. I gotta say, this was no fight, it was an execution. This is still one of the most brutal scenes in any anime. No drawn out flashy battle, no extraneous build up, just Gon straight up showing Pitou they were gonna die. Bro said he's the judge, jury, and the goddamn executioner. Gon's simple yet chilling request, "Show me rock," after launching Pitou into orbit, still sends chills down my spine. One of the most heartbreaking details about this entire fight was Killua's genuine concern and heartfelt plea for Gon to stop out of fear of losing his friend. This is undoubtedly one of the best emotionally impactful fights in the history of anime. We have another intense and heartbreaking fight from Demon Slayer on the list. Rengoku vs Akaza is one of the best fights in the entirety of Demon Slayer that the fans will never forget so easily. When you realize Akaza symbolizes the literal embodiment of the negativity Rengoku's father drilled into him, their fight takes on a whole new emotional depth. We get to see the glorious display of Rengoku's powers that literally set our hearts ablaze. Facing off against an Upper Moon 3 is impressive in itself. Rengoku's fighting spirit is truly incredible. Akaza even hesitated to kill Rengoku, recognizing his pure talent and wishing for him to become a demon and fight alongside him. Rengoku is truly inspiring. His belief in justice, even with a touch of naivety, shines through in how he lives and dies by it completely. Rengoku displayed incredible strength without needing a mark. It just goes to prove his true power, even in defeat. Ah yes, Berserk, the anime that traumatized all of us in the worst possible way. The fight between Guts and Griffith is a highly emotional one and sets the stage for the upcoming events in the anime. Guts starts as Griffith's most loyal warrior in the Band of Hawks. Griffith always saw Guts as his equal and Guts respects Griffith greatly. As far as their relationship is concerned, it's based on mutual respect and dependence on each other. Then, things go sideways as they do in Berserk. Guts decides to leave Band of the Hawk. The duel between Guts and Griffith in Berserk shows how different they are. Griffith took risks that could hurt Guts, driven by his ambition. Guts, on the other hand, showed controlled strength and kept growing stronger over time. It highlights Guts' ongoing journey of strength and resilience compared to Griffith, who seemed to just reach his limits early on. And the cruelest part of it all, Guts shows mercy. That's right, in the world of Berserk, mercy might just be the biggest smackdown of all. And finally, we have the fight between Kakashi and Obito from Naruto. In my previous video on visually stunning fights, I mentioned that Kakashi vs Obito belongs to an emotionally stunning fight. Well, here it is. This fight is deeply emotional because of their shared history and the tragic turn of their friendship. Kakashi vs Obito isn't just any fight, it's a powerful confrontation between former friends turned enemies. Obito, our lost hero, and Kakashi, his steadfast friend and rival, face off in a battle that's as emotional as it is intense, bringing years of shared history and heartbreak to a climactic and unforgettable showdown. Unlike other battles with lots of flashbacks and talking, this one is pure, intense action. Every move they make reflects their past and the pain they've gone through. For those who have followed Kakashi's and Obito's journey from their days as teammates, this battle is incredibly satisfying. Watching them clash, knowing their history, is an emotional experience that will leave you reaching for the tissues. This fight is truly legendary in anime history, showing why Naruto is so loved by fans. And with that, we'll be wrapping up this list of the top 20 most emotionally impactful fight scenes in anime. There are a lot of fight scenes like this, so we must have missed out some of your favourites. Don't keep us hanging though, be sure to comment down below any fight scenes you think should have made the list. And if you enjoyed this video, check out our most legendary and satisfying punches in anime. See you in the next one.